see. Okay. Well, a little bit sooner than I expected, but I guess we can get the ball rolling here. Uh,
Hello.
yeah. So, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Jason Vey, the owner and president of Elf Lair Games.
And I'm Tim Brandon. I'm head writing monkey, I guess.
Yeah.
More like trained monkey, I guess.
Yes. He's my bounce ideas off of, run statistical analysis, kick up things when I need them. Silent partner, developer.
Yeah, I'm a lot of things, but silent isn't one of them.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted to make sure that we get everything out on Twitch and such. Not Twitch. Twitter. I'm not going to call it X.
Yeah, nobody.
Nah, nobody's going to call it X. No.
Yeah.
I don't call it Willis Tower either, and I'm not calling this X.
No.
Willis Tower.
Sears Tower. That's what the Sears Tower's name is.
No, kind of like how the Palladium has been renamed the Canadian Tire Center, the Corel Center, the Scotiabank Center. I just call it the Palladium.
And nobody calls Heinz Field Acrisure Stadium. So
or guaranteed.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm waiting on Thread. I don't like the idea that once you're in, you can't delete it without deleting your Instagram too. Separate Threads from Instagram, I'll get on Threads, but until then I'm holding back.
Yeah, they're trying to separate the two. They're figuring that one out. The one thing that annoys me is I can't seem to be able to get Threads to run on the PC. It has to be the cell phone.
Right. That is kind of irritating.
That's annoying. That's another reason not to sign on for me, because I do almost all media at my laptop. I don't use my phone.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So.
I mean, you can view Threads on the PC. You just can't interact. What's the point in that? I mean, if I want to do media that I can't interact with, I can go back to '93 for that.
Right.
Yeah. And our company finally has a Blue Sky account.
Cool.
I was like, "Oh, I'll take a look at this." And it's like, "No, you can't see it unless you have a Blue Sky account." Okay.
I do have a Blue Sky account now. So.
I do not have that one. Again, that's another open up for broad, and then I'll look at it and decide if I want to be on, but I'm on too much social media. So
yeah, unfortunately, because company, we have to be on all the social media.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
So you guys had just finished a Kickstarter. Talk about it. Let's hear it.
Great. We did. It funded at the 0 hour. We I guess we had an angel on our shoulder. Nice. And we're really excited about it because this game, in a lot of ways, is the culmination of my career as a game designer for the last 20 some years. It's an idea that I've been playing around with for decades. I'm really excited to get into the hands of people. I think it has something interesting to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. I'm super excited. So I have it in layout and editing now, and I'm waiting on the final corner, and then hopefully we're on track for the anticipated November release. I'm hoping to get it a little earlier, but you never know what's going to happen once it hits the print.
Right. Yep. You might want to tell people what it's called, though.
Oh, yes. Sorry. It's called Wasted Lands, The Dreaming Age. If anyone is a fan of our Night Shift, the Supernatural Wars RPG, it uses the exact same rules, which is our house system, which stands for the old school. I'm drawing a blank on my own system name.
Old school generic.
Role playing? Old school role playing generic engine system. Thank you.
Yeah, ogres.
I'm sorry. I'm tired, and it's been
at the end of a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old school role playing engine system. But really, we just wanted to be able to say that our games are powered
by ogres.
Yes. Yep. It is a fantasy game, but it is not your typical fantasy. Though we do have an appendix in there if you want to run traditional high fantasy with elves and dwarves and whatnot. We have an appendix in there with all those rules. At its core, the system is very sword and sorcery. It's a gritty sword and sorcery type system.
Kind of a Conan era type thing, eh?
Kind of a Conan thing. It's set 65, 55, something like that, at the right around the KT extinction boundary. And for the now the game and the setting are separated into two different books.
Hey Rez, I gave you a link to the covers, so if you want to pop them up for people to see.
If you want to play the game but you're not into the setting, you can buy just the role-playing game rules and keep it separate from the setting. But the setting is set right around the extinction boundary, and the conceit is that event, when the meteor hit the Earth, actually hit Relay and sent Relay into the ocean and shifted the Earth's orbit, which sent the stars wrong and sent the old ones into their eternal slumber.
Nice.
Because there are no Homo sapiens that long ago, what you are playing are proto-humans who were evolved from various species of creatures on the Earth at the time, just by the old ones who were experimenting. So if you want to play somebody that was evolved from a bird or a bear, or if you want to play a normal human looking person, you would just be evolved from a primate. Is that the old ones experimenting on all these creatures, and just to see what they could do with how these proto-humans run their bonds off, and they're taking over all of the stuff that the old behind, and their names are Isis and Thor Duke and Quetzalcoatl. They're the original origins, the very mortal proto origins of the gods of old. So you're playing out stories that in millions of years, when humanity does evolve, will be remembered as the stories of ancient mythology. So that's the shtick.
How familiar are you with the Cthulhu mythos?
Quite familiar. I mean, I own I have a leather-bound collection of H.P. Lovecraft's complete fiction upstairs. I have a complete collection of Howard and H.P. Lovecraft's correspondence.
I remember reading someplace, I don't know if it's actually canonically true, but humans are supposed to be evolved from Shoggoths, which is why exposure to the mythos can cause like mutations and warping.
I'm not.
That sounds like an August Derleth thing.
Yeah, that sounds like an August Derleth thing. I don't recall Lovecraft wrong, but I don't recall that coming from. August Derleth was the one who really, quote unquote, canonized what a lot of people know as. We're not using any of Derleth blocks stuff. We're only using H.P. Lovecraft, because H.P. Lovecraft is in the public domain. None of that other stuff is. So we're sticking public domain. H.P. Lovecraft created old ones. Really, that's all mostly background stuff to this. The setting is really just this sorcery thing where
it happened back then. Doesn't necessarily apply now.
Right.
Unless somebody wants to play Nyarlathotep.
Right.
There was a game that came out a while back on Amazon called Cthulhu Abides. And they only used the strict H.P. Lovecraft stuff. They didn't use any of the expanded material, which was very interesting. Unfortunately, you can't get it now because the cover art he hadn't got permission to use.
Nice. Lovely.
Good.
Yeah. All of our stuff is purchased.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting idea what he did with it, and it had a great sanity/insanity system, probably one of the most innovative I've seen. But he couldn't sell it anymore.
I actually upped in our sadness system is in night shift, so people can see it already if they want to. But I actually developed that in conjunction with who is a mental health therapist of like 20 years now. So it's still designed to be gameable. It's not like, and we have, content warnings in there about how mental health issues are a real problem. And, there's a difference between playing a character that's off in game and dealing with real world health issues. But We wanted to get something that skewed a little close to what going mad looks like, I guess, than a lot of games do. So we have,
which is closer to a nervous breakdown than anything.
Right. Really, it's PTSD and it's acute stress reactions and that we deal with. So
and with either Wasted Lands or Night Shift, I mean, the sanity system we have there. I've always been a very huge critic of sanity systems in all sorts of games. The sanity system's not supposed to replace the DSM.
Yeah.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's not going to do that. And more to the point, you shouldn't even try it. So you're not a doctor. Don't play one on TV and don't play one in the role-playing game.
Yeah,
right.
Like I'm actually diagnosed with DID. So watching people play up multiple personalities, I kind of give them the side eye if they're playing it for kicks.
Yeah. We notes in there about how you have to try to and make sure that your players are going to be comfortable with what you're doing, and so
as opposed to what Palladium did back in the 80s.
Yeah, I don't even think we need to go there.
No, let's not.
let's not
I was very unhappy with that even back then.
And that's where Jason got you got your start working with.
I did get my start working for Palladium Books. Yes, my first 2 publications were through Palladium. Yeah.
Oh, which ones? I'm kind of curious.
I started with an article called Shadows of Light for the series, and then I wrote the Nightbane source book, Shadows of Light.
You wrote Nightbane? Oh, I love Nightbane.
I wrote Shadow for Nightbane. CJ Corella wrote the game, Nightbane.
Yeah, but you did one of the expansions.
I did a source book for it, yeah.
That was one of my favrites. I'm not a fan of Palladium, but Nightbane was really good.
I really liked that game, yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, my game master was watching my dice like a hawk. I wound up with, I think it was a 23 MA and a 24 PB.
Nice.
Then I rolled Physical Perfection.
Yeah.
I walked out of there with, I think, over 40 PB. He's like, could you just tone it down to below Aphrodite's? I'm like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, you could do some gonzo stuff with Palladium. There was,
and that's the whole point.
Yep, I have some good memories of playing that system. It was a little overly complicated, but we had fun with it back in the day. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Team T is where I came in, and then I got into Robotech, and then from there I got into Rifts, and then from there into Nightbane. There's a few things I really had problems with, but the world building is very nice. I will give it that. Yeah. The mechanics I tend to have a fight with, but the world building is something I can appreciate.
You know what? I got to say, the Savage Worlds Rifts is spectacular. Friday Group played a game of Savage Rifts, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I've heard a lot good about it.
I've actually run a Savage Worlds campaign, but unfortunately, my players didn't get into it.
Oh.
All I've been playing is Wasted Lands for a couple of months now, I think.
Why?
Well, see, the advantage is I'm not doing any of the writing on this, and that's the good thing, because I get to approach it as a total fanboy, because I've been watching Jason pick at this thing for the better part of how long? Literally a couple decades since you and I started.
20 years or more, yeah.
Yeah. Oof. So, I mean, I know this game has been in the back of his head for that long, at least as long as Night Shift has.
I know those feels.
I get to play it, as a fan, and that's great. And then I sit down and I let my oldest plays it with his group. And, I have the playtest stuff over there for them. They're telling me what gods they want to play. I'm like, well, you're not gods yet. I'm like, oh, we will be, though. I mean,
we have goals.
They have goals. I mean, they're alternating it between this and their 5th edition D&D game. So they're having a blast. Yeah. And, one of the players had mentioned that to him, the game felt old and new at the same time, because it gave him like that feeling on the handful of times we've played like old school D&D with them. So they're really enjoying it. Everybody here loves it.
And yeah, that was probably the coolest comment I've gotten, was when they said it felt like something old, but at the same time really new.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what we're pushing at. We want to get that there's kind of a sense of wonder, I think, that's gotten in more recent editions of D&D.
Mm-hmm.
A sense of, in 5th edition, you're heroes right out of the gate. And we wanted to go back to that where you earn your status as heroes. But at the same time, so we have, anybody who's seen Night Shift will know, we have different levels of grit. So you can play the game gritty or normal or cinematic, and you can pick which elements you want to be gritty and which elements you want to be cinematic. So you can really kind of construct the play style you want, which gives you more player agency, I think, than a lot of older style games do, if you want them there. But at the same time, want them there, you can go full on gritty. And I think that's where the new really comes in. Tim and I when we designed the Ogres system, our design DNA from working together with Eden Studios, from working on old school stuff, all the stuff we've done for the last 2 decades plus, our DNA is all over it from that aspect. And in Wasted Lands, we toyed with this a little bit in the Night Companion, but in Wasted Lands, I have an appendix that lets you customize every single aspect of the right down to the mechanics that you use. So the Ogre system by default still uses its 3 mechanic: the percentile mechanic, and the rule of 2 mechanic. But if you want to do like a straight up D20 unified task resolution, there's rules in there to do that. If you want to do straight percentile roll under, there's rules in there to do that. If you want to do a dice pool system where you throw a fistful of dice and count success, we have rules in there to do that. And none of it requires you to change the character sheet in any way whatsoever. So
I like that.
Yeah, you can take the same character and jump between tables that use different systems and still play the game with that character. So we really kind of wanted to take that idea of a toolkit to the next level and really let you customize the type of game you want to play. Now, moving forward, as we do supplements, they're all going to default to the 3 mechanic Ogres system.
Yeah.
But we just thought it was important to have those tools there for people. If somebody's a Shadowrun fan and they're really into that, I want to throw a fistful of D6 and counts hits. You can do that with this game. Go for it, you know? Yeah. So
we kind of did the same thing with ASPs, but kind of reversed. Whereas that if you're playing an ASP character from one campaign setting, which has its own rules, it can port over to another ASP setting, which has its own rules, and you don't even have to change the character sheet. But I think, yours opens the door for a lot more going out into the other game engines and such, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that was really the goal. And I wanted to kind of take that to the next level and really give people something that it'll appeal to anybody, new gamers, whatever system you like, whatever level of grit you like, it's all going to be there. So, and it's not going to, we're also, if we have fans of our original Spellcraft and Swordplay game from like back in 2010, we have an entire chapter in there called Powered by Orcs, because Orcs was the name of that system. And that was the optimized role-playing core system. Yeah. But again, we just wanted to say Powered by Orcs. It uses a 2 unified setting that's inspired from, the earliest days of miniatures gaming. But we brought that back. So we have actually 2 core rules chapters. We have Powered by Ogres and Powered by Orcs. So
now you just need trolls.
Or goblins. Well, goblins. I write for Troll Lord Games, so there's the trolls.
There we go. So you worked with Eden Studios. I remember Tim talking about that.
Yes, we did for a long time. And actually, both of us are on record multiple times saying we would work for George again in a New York minute. The minute he had something for us to do, we're there, because I love George. I love Eden Studios. I love
Unisystem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wound up picking up all the PDFs for the Witchcraft recently, including the expanded stuff, Armageddon and all that. And I was like, okay, so what's coming out next? And I saw they had one which looked like it was going to be a super setting.
Oh, yeah.
And
Beyond Human. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was very interested in that.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll come out someday. Yeah. We're all waiting for it.
Yeah.
They actually had before the company kind of, I don't want to say shut down, because technically they're still out there, but before they slowed down their production lines, they actually had a licensed game for City of Heroes, the old MMO.
Oh, yeah.
And it went through multiple iterations. The early versions were a little rough, but by the time it was done and ready to go, it was a lot of fun. It used the same cinematic unisystem that they used in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer game.
Yes.
And we
Ghosts of Albion.
Ghosts of in yeah, we ran it at a couple conventions to preview it, and it was a blast. And I actually got to see the printer's galley proof of the game, so it did exist. For people who think it was vaporware, it did exist. I saw it, but unfortunately, I think something went bad with the license somewhere or something. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it was a bummer because that would have been funny. That a really cool mechanic where after you defeated a villain, it was a video game mechanic in a tabletop game. After you defeated a villain, the director could throw a die, and I think it was, if it came up 10, something like that, they would drop a power-up cookie that you could run and pick up. Yeah. So it was a unique mechanic.
It was fun.
Going back to Wasted Lands, you mentioned you've been working on this more or less for decades. I know that, Phil. Our company was actually started to produce an RPG based off some concepts I had. It's not been published yet.
Yeah.
We've been doing everything else, but we haven't done that one yet. So I know you have your darling and you want to get it out the door.
Yep, that was it. And it's really the concepts and the setting that I've been working on. I mean, it's been through more game systems than I can count playing with it.
Oh, yes. Amen.
Finally, we came up with Ogres, and it just seemed to fit perfectly.
Right.
So I was finally able to get this together.
And the same is true for Night Shift. I mean, there's lots of our own, the individual night worlds within Night Shift. I know that in my case too, a couple of those started out as all sorts of different games.
Well, yeah, the Nocturnum verse night world in Night Shift is actually my Buffy game that's been going since 2001. That's my home setting.
Yes.
So yeah, and actually, the way Night Shift came about is interesting. The story is actually in the book, but I had been writing. I have an irregular old school gaming blog, and it's not updated nearly as much as it should be. But I had written a blog about how we would use original Dungeons and Dragons to play a Buffy the Vampire Slayer game in there, because I do a lot of that, like trying to show old school D&D is a lot more flexible than people give it credit for being.
Yeah.
So I put this blog up there, and Tim messaged me the next day, and he's like, "Why are we not writing this game? We have to write this game." He said, "Never forget it, Tim. You said nobody can write this game but us."
Exactly. I mean, seriously.
And at the time, I was really busy. I was working for Goodman Games. I had tons of stuff for Troll Lord on my plate. I time to a major project right now. See, Tim knows me, and he knew that as soon as he said that, it was going to put a worm in my ear.
Yeah.
And
3 weeks later.
Yeah, a week or two later, I had the setting half, or the system half done. So I messaged him back. I went, "All right, let's do this." I said, "But if we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's formally launch Elf Lair as a gaming company. I'll talk to my lawyer. I'll get an LLC set up, and we're going to kickstart it. We're going to traditional offset printing, no PDF and drive-through RPG. We do have it on drive-through as a PDF, but you know what I'm like. I wanted to do this as a traditional, honest publishing.
Yeah.
And Tim said, "Great,
let's do it."
So, and that's pretty much how Night Shift came about.
Yeah. Yeah, my setting, I wound up bumping through a whole bunch of different game engines because I have kind of a fixed city for modern campaigns, and that's, if I'm running a modern campaign, I always use that city. So
right.
But yeah, it's really hard when you have a whole bunch of information, you're trying to get it all out, and you're trying to get it down and hammered out and get the lore right and all that. One step at a time.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah. One of the things we wanted to be sure, and this is true for Wasted Lands, and it's very true for Night Shift, and in particular in regards to, what we were talking about earlier with the mental health issue. There's a lot of things we're trying to balance here. There's a lot of real world history, and with Wasted Lands, we have all of these different mythologies and potential characters coming from everywhere. And it's a balancing act. And at the end, I think where we try to err is what is the best for a game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're not writing textbooks here. I do that enough of my own time, and Jason doesn't pay me what I get paid to write textbooks.
And
so
in the Gazetteer, we're embracing the idea of proto settings here, or proto cultures. So the idea is that when I tell you that Chem Proto-Egyptian, that really just gives you an idea that there are pyramids and there are columns and players can imagine in their minds what it is. But I'm actually making up, because these cultures are not real cultures. Like I said, there aren't even sapiens in this game.
Yeah.
So I'm really making up the cultures whole cloth. I'm just
kind of the precursors type thing.
Right.
Yeah, but only to an extent. I mean, like I said, I'm just inventing these cultures whole cloth.
Yeah.
And where there are, because you have to deal with certain problematic elements, things like slavery that went on in the ancient world. And where we deal with these things, we're very careful to put in content alerts to let people know in advance. There's something here that might make your table uncomfortable. If you're fine with it, run with it. If you're not, then feel free to ignore it. And so we're trying to be very careful with that sort of balancing in this game.
Have you seen the Dark Hole RPG?
The what RPG?
Dark Hole.
I have not. No.
The way they put it is basically a rift opens up over ancient Babylon and sucks the population to another world. And they're basically, the human race is now at the bottom rung. And, they're basically having to struggle to survive and rebuild. And it's a really interesting kind of almost a fantasy version of a science fiction setting.
Right. Well, we have that too. We actually have the science fiction elements too, because again, we're dealing with the great old ones, and we're dealing with, there are MyGo out there and there are elder things out there. So if you choose to do it, you can bring in the super science of the great old ones to your game to whatever degree you want. Now, I don't specifically address much of it in there except to that
it's part of the window dressing.
Yeah. We may, if we get to do enough source books in the future, we may actually work in a little bit more detailed for those who want. But for now, it's there if you want to use it. And it's really that sort of thing of gaming Expedition to the Barrier Peaks in AD&D was a crap spaceship.
Yep.
So
so you say MyGo, not Migo?
I say MyGo. Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a while to be able to say Nyarlathotep.
Nyarlathotep.
See, there we go.
That's how Nyarlathotep is how I pronounce that. Yeah. So, and the funny thing is, the only one that we have pronunciation for, Cthulhu, and nobody pronounces. H.P. Lovecraft said it should be connected, because Lovecraft in a letter said it should be something like Chluchlu.
Yeah. If you ever saw the YouTube series Calls for Cthulhu, somebody asked, so how do you say your name? He's like, look, is your mouth 5 feet wide? Do you have 6 tongues? Then forget about it.
Yep.
And then he goes, now back to Calls for me. And then he carries on.
It took me years to learn how to pronounce relay.
Oh, see, I don't even call it that. I call it Rylia.
Yeah. I used to call it Rilia. And I had heard it pronounced as relay by a number of different people, and I kind of adopted that because
nobody's wrong in this situation.
Yeah.
Right. Even actually, Chaosium just released their new Malleus Monstorum. Which I picked up at Origins, and it's phenomenal. It's an improvement in almost every way from the original. But they have a pronunciation guide in it, and they've changed the way several of the deities are pronounced, even from them.
Yeah, because I came in with 3rd edition Call of Cthulhu, so that's where I learned my pronunciations.
Yeah. So,
God's reminds me of Vampire the Masquerade and people trying to figure out how to pronounce some of the clan names. I'm like, it's Bruya. And they're like, no, it's not Bruya. It's Bruja.
It's Bruja. That one, there's no argument about that. It's Bruja. Right. It's a Hispanic Latino word for male witch. It's Bruja or Brujo. Bruja would be a female witch.
Yeah.
It's a Hispanic witchcraft tradition.
Yeah.
Or Latino.
And then you had like Ganrel, and they're like, it's Gangrel.
Gangrel.
No, it isn't.
It's Gangrel. Yeah. The pronunciations, I don't know. Vampire, I'm like, the pronunciations are so easy. We'll make them harder than they need to be. So, yeah.
So, Jimisi.
I'm sorry?
Jimisi, the Sabat clan.
Spell that. Pretty sure
T-Z-I-M-I-S.
Zimi.
Okay. Because I've heard Jimisi and I've heard Jimise.
Yeah.
Jimise what? No. Anyway. So where do people want to go if they want to pre-order Wasted Lands?
So just go to elflair.com. We haven't opened up pre-orders yet. They will open up within a week or two. There will be a product page at elflair.com, and you can just go in and pre-order. And I will have, I'm going to treat the pre-orders similar to the way other places treat late pledges. So most of the package deals from the Kickstarter will be available for pre-order. So both of the volumes of the book although I'm not sure how many leathers I will have left over, so I may have to hold off on that one. But wanted to get both of the volumes in there, it'll be at the discounted price. If you want to get the volume set, it'll be a price, for a short time. So, yeah.
Cool. What's your future projects? Got any in mind?
We have tons of stuff. We just talking about that this morning.
Yep. In our schedules updated.
Tim and Derek and I were talking where we're going to move in the future, and I'm going to call up my product list now. We have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 projects, various stages of completion for Night Shift.
Nice.
Right now, we have a bunch of stuff that we want to do for Wasted Lands. The G screens are done, but I need to get the funds together and actual little booklet that goes with them. So they're for Wasted Lands, that is. But our big one is we're going to start working on our third core game, which is 12 parsecs beyond the solar frontier. So we will have a modern game, historical fantasy game, and a future sci-fi game. So all of your genres will be covered. And specific subgenre books for these games as well. So we want to do a Victorian era for Night Shift and a book for Night Shift, and we'll do a cyberpunk book, 12 parsecs, do a space opera book for parsecs. And so that's the goal moving forward, is branch out with these genre books to expand these games. So we have a whole bunch of different adventures, and Tim is actually working on it. If anybody follows Tim on Twitter, you'll see he's been working on that Tomb of the Vampire Queen. When he's done with that, that's going to get adapted over to Wasted Lands and become a mega dungeon.
Nice.
For Wasted Lands. Yeah, that's the plan.
So what's the hook on the future supplement?
What do you mean the hook?
Well, like with Wasted Land, it's you're basically the fledgling demigods with
so 12 parsecs. 12 parsecs is going to be more like have a number of mini settings to go with it, and we have shift stuff kit game where you'll have all the rules for all the different types of sci-fi in one place, and then a bunch of mini settings and things that you can pepper in. That's the goal for it. So basically it's a meta setting that then you can go into whatever genre you're interested in. Correct. Yeah. That's a good way to do it. Yes. Yeah.
Right. And that gives us a lot of freedom, because Jason likes pew pew space opera, and I like I like hard sci-fi.
Yeah, Tim likes the really boring science fiction. I like the exciting laser guns and spaceships.
I'm kind of in the middle of the road. It's like I like the space opera Star Wars stuff like this, but then I'm like, I want the drones, and I want the cybernetics, and I want the nanotechnology, and I want the biological engineering, and all that other hard sci-fi stuff.
Well, that's to me, that doesn't necessarily need to be hard sci-fi when you get into things like drones and nanotech and cybernetics. And because really, if you look at say Blade Runner, There's nothing hard sci-fi about Blade Runner.
No.
Yeah,
it's just as fantastic.
But that's more film noir. But
yeah. So to me, hard sci-fi, something that really focuses on the science to the extent of everything else.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Renegade Legion. Have you ever seen that back in the 90s?
No,
yeah, also not hard sci-fi, but okay.
Well, okay. I think it was Renegade Legion. Might have been a different one. But
Terra Invicta is hard sci-fi. Look at that if you want.
Yeah, but like, for example, they had spaceships, and of course the spaceships had force fields. But they said if the force field is breached, the ship is destroyed anyway. So the ships didn't have skin. You could see all the internal components and stuff like this because it was pointless to put anything on it. If it got hit, it was gone.
That's interesting.
It made the ships look really unique, though.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So here's the question. Since we're I'm interested in your science fiction setting, and want to go on to this. So, a lot of RPGs, especially in like the D20 games and stuff like this, they have the conceit that the characters start at rock bottom and they work their way up. So you'll have characters like with no cybernetics until like level 3, level 4, level 5. And then you have games like Cyberpunk and Shadowrun where you can actually start off with this kind of stuff, and it kind of slips into competency porn, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that? Where do you prefer the characters to come from?
So in the ogres, the beauty of the ogre system is that it's kind of somewhere between the two, because in Night Shift, for example, inventor character class, that's really going to be the core of your powered character. So you want to play a character with off the bat, you'll start with that type of character where you will have a pool of points, and then you can build into your cybernetics, grow, and they will grow with you as a character. But they don't start off overpowering you in characters.
Okay. If you wanted to say like an ace pilot for the futuristic setting, and you wanted them to be able to plug into their ship to pilot it by thought, would they be able to do that out of the gate, or would that's a goal to look forward to?
I mean, I depend on the setting, but yeah, that sort of thing will be there.
Excellent.
Where you can buy, I mean, again, if you want to play a cybernetic character who jack in his head that lets him plug into, or her or them, to a vehicle and get bonuses from that, sure, there's no reason that couldn't be. That doesn't have to be something that is going to overpower your character out. You can still have a first level character who is a first level character, yet is still capable of being good at what they do compared to a normal person. So I think that's where we come from on that. Yeah,
sounds good. Since we're getting close to you two turning into pumpkins, is there anything else you want to bring out?
Wasted Lands is the big one right now. That's the one we're trying to get all the attention on, and hopefully get lots of pre-orders for the people who couldn't participate in the Kickstarter.
Yep.
So
we went crazy trying to market the Kickstarter, and I'm still hearing from people now who are like, we didn't even know this was going on. So really, hopefully that people can see the pre-orders when they go live, and support for it. We're thrilled. It was a pleasant funded the way it did when it did. And it has actually made us readjust our plan for future releases. So we don't have any more close calls like that, but we're so excited to get this into everybody's hand. And
with our first project, we were doing the Kickstarter for it, and we just squeaked by at the last minute. So we had no extra budget for any unexpected costs.
Yep.
We're still hurting from that. This
is the third Kickstarter that's kind of happened with for us. So we sat down and did a close examination of how our Kickstarters have run, and how and when and what we can do to adjust. And we have a whole new forward. So 12 Parsec Kickstarter is going to look very, very different. Hopefully that'll be next year sometime, because we're just starting into the development of it now, and you'll see some, I think, for Night Shift and hopefully Wasted Lands before then. But Wasted Lands is the big one. I'm really this game. I think it has something to offer people, and I really hope people love it. It means a great deal to me. I'm excited to get into people's hands. So
And I think it can replace D&D at people's tables.
That's why Tim's here. He's the one that gets to say that.
Yes.
No, I do
think seeing it.
I think it is. I mean, we did talk about this as a D&D alternative. We don't want it to be just heartbreaker. We think that it has something to offer in its mechanics work,
its
ability, and its customizability in genre. So not only is it something different, it can be this D&D alternative. If you're looking for just something to expand your game at the table, this can bring you new ideas and new approaches as well. So I think something for just about everybody there.
You mentioned possibly doing a Victorian setting in the future. Ever considered attaching Weird West to it?
Yes, so we've talked that that'll be probably /Weird West will be a separate source book unto itself. When we get there, Tim is really the Victorian guy, and I really dig the Wild West. So that'll be like he'll probably be doing the lion's share of the Victorian, and I'll be doing but we will definitely be working to make sure the two books kind of can come together. Yeah.
First time I ever saw that was Castle Falkenstein when they did the New World source book. That was my first introduction to the Weird West, and I really like how they did it.
Yeah. But CF's a fun game. I mean, I have every Victorian game ever made, so that's my genre of choice.
His wheelhouse,
yeah.
So,
well, it was a very interesting time period, so I can totally see that. Yeah. Well, I wish you could. Yes, I wasn't I? Yeah. So it was really good having you two here, and it's nice to have you back, Tim. Hopefully, you guys are welcome to come by anytime if you want to talk about anything.
Sure.
The doors are open for any time we have a Geek and Greet.
Great.
Yeah, and you do it the last Monday of every month, right?
Yes, the last Monday of every month is what we aim for.
All right, cool. Well,
and next time we'll try not to get the timing all confused like we did. So
that's fair.
Yeah, we're going to be trying to push that a lot next time we do a big Kickstarter. We're going to try to get on some. We did podcast this time, and I think we do a lot more marketing pre-launch next time. So we will be looking at that.
And there's nothing stopping us from doing an extra Geek and Greet in a month if your Kickstarter is starting in the next couple of days or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So we can try to get you on early and get that out the door for you, so you can at least spread the word.
Yeah. So
great. Well, we'll remember that when it comes time to get on to 12 parsecs.
Yes, indeed.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we'll do that. We're looking forward to doing it. We just, we got to hash out between, like I said, my desire to have ships turn around halfway so they can start reversing thrust before they can get onto a planet, and Jason wanting, laser swords.
Yeah.
We can do both. Well, and that's the beauty with at least with Night Shift as it's written now on Wasted Lands. When people get it, it is very flexible. It is very malleable, and we can do that. Of course, I say all this stuff, but the setting I want to do is called Space Truckers, which is just basically the late 1970s in space.
Oh,
dear. Smokey and the Bandit in space, because that's what I want to do.
Smokey and the Bandit. That was the first movie I ever saw in a drive-in.
Yeah, that would be close. Mine, I don't remember what it was.
My first movie I ever saw in the Wars, A New Hope, before when it was still just called Star Wars.
It was just Star Wars,
yeah. I saw that in the theater.
That was great. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate
no problem.
it.
Really glad to have you here.
Yeah, it was a good talk. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hope to see you again.
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Ciao.
All right.
Bye. See you around.
Bye.
Yeah. Well, that was good. Unexpected, but good. Yes. So I checked to see if other people wanted to join us. I haven't got an answer yet, but knock on wood, we'll see what happens. No, not there yet, and not there yet. Oh well, it's just the four of us. Maybe Cat will join us. We'll see. So how did Tessellation go? Oh, let's find out. Yeah. Well, say something.
Something.
Say something.
We're getting lots of echoes.
Yeah, no, they can't hear you. Yeah.
Seems likely.
We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Well, it's more Rizzo's experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah. So yeah, this the setting that they come up with, it sounds very interesting. The idea of being just after the destruction of all there is by meteor impact and playing fledgling demigods. I kind of like that. But then I've always liked the demigod kind of base campaign settings. I was a huge fan of Scion. I have, of course, I have Godbound, things like that. I'm getting demigods in the mail at some point in the future.
Test, test. How about now? You hear me now?
Well, hold on, I'll unmute it again.
Actually, I'm seeing light now, so yes, you guys should be able to hear me.
Excellent. Okay then.
Good.
Yep. For some reason, certain updates just reset my microphone to nothing.
Blah. I just heard me echo off of Elena.
Yep.
So tessellation.
Yes.
Well, we got one session in, and I had been sick for the past few weeks, so we haven't run it again.
Yeah, I was figuring that you could probably run it in August. I wouldn't mind, so we can see how it goes.
My issue is, right at the moment, it's a little on the stressful side, with Saturdays being so hot. And
Yeah.
Sundays, I pretty much don't do much. And then Mondays, my brain is fried. Like, I'm still not sure.
What would be a good day for you?
I was actually just going to say, let me hold off on tessellation because there are some big changes I want to make to it.
Okay.
I mainly want to try to get it off of 2D20 because it makes it too much like the Mophidius system for Star Trek. I want to try to get it back onto the 2D12, and that's going to take me some time to kind of figure that out.
D12s are really good for as a math rock.
Yeah, and I was also curious. You did mention possibly running First Contact. I would not mind, being a player in that.
Sure, I can do a First Contact. Basically, I want to take a little bit of a break from Fox Magic because I'm kind of running a lot of that in my head at the moment, and I want to kind of derail onto something else for a while to take a breath. So yeah, I could do First Contact. I mean, I'm working on a source book for it already.
That's what I was thinking. It might be ready for beta.
Mind telling me about the concept for First Contact beyond the very obvious part?
Well, First Contact is basically a sandbox science fiction setting. So the game master and the players can basically choose what kind of science fiction they want to have. Funny enough, we were just talking about science fiction here, weren't we? And the thing about the mechanics is that it's set to scale at 3 levels. So like if we were using Star Trek as the example, you have the starships, you have the command crew, and then you have the red shirts.
Or lower decks.
Or lower decks, yes. If you were doing Star Wars, you would have the starships, then you would have the heroes, and then you'd have like the droids or the extras, like Red 3.
Or you could have capital ships, starfighters, player characters.
Yeah, you could do it that way if you want to go for that kind of scaling. So it would really be, we'd be talking about what kind of science fiction we'd want to do, what kind of shifts we'd want to do, and then we basically lay everything out and go into the character creation, which is supposed to be fairly quick. But the players get to team up and build their starship or multiple starships if you want your own. Then you build your characters as the command staff or the heroes, effectively, and then you play. Then you build a sidekick, a droid, or whatever's one step down from there. And they all have their own dice. So starships roll d10s, PCs or the heroes would roll d8s, and the red shirts or the lower levels roll d6s.
Huh, interesting. I admit that sci-fi isn't my usual setting forte. The closest that I really get to reading and enjoying sci-fi is with some of McCaffrey's work.
Ah, The Ship That Sang.
I haven't actually read that one.
No.
I've read the first of PTB.
Mhm.
I've read plenty of Pern.
Yeah. Pern is a very interesting take on science fiction, and it takes a few books to find out that it's science fiction.
Well, I mean, technically, if you read the books in their chronological order rather than their publishing order.
Yeah. Well, I came in with the very first book and went through that, and when I got to the third book, I was like, "Wait, what?" And then you got into the Harper series, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
I started with the Harper series.
Yeah, but I'm older than you.
I read Dragon Song, then I read Dragon Singer, then I read the very first book.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to actually get around to Dragon Drums, just because I was not interested by the change in protagonist. I liked Pimer well enough as a side character, but I was just not as interested in him as a protagonist as I was in Menely.
Yeah. The Master Harper.
Robinson. Yeah.
He was great. And the send-off for him was also very good. No spoilers.
So, with First Contact, from what I understand, you don't have aliens really in it. It starts out with humanity, right?
Yeah. But I do have the rules for if you want to have aliens. Like if somebody wants to be the token Vulcan, the rules are there for it. It's just that if you're playing something like that, you get a fifth attribute. So your attributes are spread a little bit thinner, but you get the attribute weird.
Okay. Yeah.
And weird, and then you write down what weird does. So like for a Vulcan, it'd be like the mind meld and all that kind of stuff. Or the Vulcan nerve pinch would fall under weird.
Well, I mean, they've established that, just about anybody can learn how to do mind melds and nerve pinches, so...
Yeah. Oh, where did it... Oh, yes, it was the comic book off of the Kelvin universe, I think it was. They actually had Kirk do the Vulcan nerve pinch to someone.
Yeah.
The guy didn't see it coming.
Picard used it in TNG. Data used it in TNG.
Yeah.
And then in the series Picard, a synth used the mind meld, actually, on another character. Yeah, no. She was like, "Oh no, I'm proficient in the mind meld," and I'm like, "You're a synthetic life form." So, but yeah.
But then, mind you, R5D4 is Force sensitive, so go figure.
Now I'm wondering, with the way that we're talking about this, so the tiers of play, obviously Starship Player extras, that's how it's meant to play out. But like, if I did want to do a common twist in Pern fanfic of like after everything in the Ninth Pass is, they've rediscovered space travel and the same way that they did with the major plot arc in All the Weirs of Pern. Doing that, if I did that with a Pern inspired character, would my quote unquote starship be the dragon?
Well,
yeah,
so
you could do that.
You could, maybe, but canonically, the Pern universe exists in a subset of the Ship Who Sang universe.
Yeah.
So you might want to investigate that.
Yeah, the way you could probably do that, you would probably have the dragons be the D8, the rider would be the D6. But if you were doing Pern in and of itself, separate from everything else, though, yeah, the dragons would be the D10s, the humans would be the D8s, and then you would have the dragonettes be like the D6s or whatever pets you would have.
The fire lizards?
Yeah, the fire lizards. Yeah, those would be like the D6s. Or the White Dragon would probably be a D6. Well, it's something I'm doing with the expansion set is I'm doing a subset of ships for vehicles because a motorcycle doesn't roll D10s. Yeah, so I've put in the vehicle rules already. I've got them mostly hammered out. I'm now looking at expanding on what you can do with like the D8's level of play. Introducing the thing like psionics and cybernetics and all that other stuff. And
well, I don't exactly know how the system plays, but wouldn't that just be another stat you could add?
Oh no, it'd be a modifier. Because for example, with vehicles, you can you're allowed to plug in modifiers to it to make them stand out in certain ways. And I put an attribute point cost to it. So like if you want this, it's going to cost an attribute point. So you're rolling one less die, but you're getting this benefit. Like one of the benefits I put down is like, say, if you're normally rolling D8s, you could take up to 2D8 and drop them down to D6s, but you double the dice. So you'll have 4D6 as opposed to 2D8 for a challenge. Or the other one is that if somebody captures one of your dice, the die degrades, but you get to keep it, and you re-roll that, and they re-roll the die that did the capture. So it's kind of like a brief bit of a blade of armor.
I see.
Yeah, so I mean, the core rulebook talks about different ways to do the dice. So I'm doing things to. It's like here's some little tricks that that you can attach to your vehicle or your ship or your character to give them a little bit of an edge without actually breaking the game engine.
Well, if we wanted to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You were saying that you didn't know anything about the game engine. Have you ever played Button Men?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
Okay, so what you would do is both sides of the conflict roll dice. And then starting with the player, because the player almost always goes first, you capture your opponent's dice. You take one of your dice and you try to, and you take one of their dice that is equal to or less than the die you're using. And that's considered to be a success. Your opponent then tries to take one of yours. That's a complication, not a failure, but a complication to your success. And you go back and forth. So it's like after one exchange, you can be like, well, I got 5 successes. You got 3 complications. So what were those 5 successes? What did they make your character do? That is basically the equivalent of 5 rounds of combat right there.
That's a burst. I just got
exactly.
I'm sorry. I just got a notification that we're going to have an ad in 4 minutes and 45 seconds.
Oh, okay then.
It's never done that before.
Well, it's nice that they warned us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It beats we're having a conversation. Commercial. Come back and we're still in the middle of the conversation. It's like, okay, what did we miss for the last 3 minutes?
It does not tell me how long the ad's going to be, though.
Well, that you'd actually just have to look at the window when it happens.
Because I've got all the equipment running, I try not to open that window so we don't have an echo.
Well, what I did is I just mute the page. The vessel has been cursed with the silencing spell. Oh, noes!
Well, yeah, if we took the opportunity to chat more about what the setting would be like and how I would build a character.
We could do a session 0, yes.
Can I make...
Well, I also mean just like if we chatted in Discord beforehand about it so I can like verify my interest.
Yep, we could do that, definitely.
I have an idea for a world setting.
Do you want to run this?
No, I don't want to run it. I don't know the system. I just have an idea for the world setting.
Okay, then.
That's the easy part.
I know.
I have those every day.
Well, since Elena is interested in the kind of the fantasy thing, what if we go with we'll stick with what we know for human history. The humans finally have breached into space travel, and when they get outside of the star's halo, they find out that elves, dwarves, and all that actually do exist, and they have sealed humans away with a magical barrier to keep them out of magic. And now that they have space travel, they can't keep them away from magic anymore.
Interesting. I don't have anything against this.
It's like, well, unfortunately, they have reached our level of intelligence and must now join the Galactic Alliance.
Ooh.
That's oof. That's a very unfriendly opinion to have of a fellow sapient race.
Going on a twist of that, think Shadowrun, but the awakening is once you left the planetary sphere, like the solar system.
That was kind of the idea, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that. So it's like what's that coming out of their nose? Oh, it's Spaceballs. Well, there goes the planet.
Sorry, I didn't understand that last reference.
If you ever saw the movie Spaceballs, at the end,
No.
they basically do a clip from Planet of the Apes. So you have these two ape people on horses riding up to what looks like the Statue of Liberty, and the rest is basically a takeoff of Planet of the Apes plus Mel Brooks being Mel Brooks.
I don't know who Mel Brooks is.
Oh,
I don't know actors by name unless it's very specific roles.
It's fine. He is actually a director. He's the person who did Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, Spaceballs, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Did he do History of the World Part 3?
I think so.
I haven't seen any of those.
Okay. You'd probably like Spaceballs.
It's slapstick, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not actually that big of a fan of slapstick.
But it's making fun of Star Wars.
She hasn't watched that either.
You haven't watched Star Wars?
I mean, you two kind of forced me into watching episodes 4 and 5 with you because Granny Barb was there. And you got to episode 6 and I was just like, no, I'm done with this. And I went up to my room.
Interesting. Okay. Did you at least like The Princess Bride?
Yeah, of course.
Excellent.
The Princess Bride.
Good. Okay.
30 seconds
Who
to commercial
doesn't
break.
like The Princess Bride?
Best movie ever made.
Never saw it. Anyways.
We're going to have to fix that.
15 seconds to commercial.
It's kind of hard to start a new conversation topic when there's 15 seconds to a commercial.
Yeah. We'll come out the other end.
5 seconds.
2, 1.
Lift off.
What's the commercial about?
It hasn't started.
Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live. We don't have a commercial. They lied to us.
That's weird.
That's really weird. Oh well. I guess we keep talking and then just get interrupted randomly.
Or they tell us we have another commercial.
Right?
We'll see.
Oh gods, I hope we didn't have a commercial in the middle of Elflair Games. I didn't see any.
I don't know. My record is corrupted for some reason. I'm gonna have to go in and find out why it's not recording on my end. I've been doing that since you left for vacation.
So you're gonna have to download straight off of Twitch then.
Yep.
All right.
Ad break ends in 27 seconds, it says.
Lies. Commercial.
Oh, is there actually a commercial?
Just started. 25 seconds. It's for the Dracula on the boat.
Dracula on the boat.
Dracula on the boat.
Yeah, it's a movie coming out. It's about the ship that brought Dracula from Transylvania to.
Oh, okay. The one where they found the ship captain's log and yeah.
Yeah. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And we're back.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
So they weren't quite lying. They were just
a little slow.
Not correct in their timing.
Yeah.
Somebody forgot to push a button on their end.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the idea of, humans gaining space travel and faster than light speeds, they get to the end of of the heliosphere, and as they penetrate it, they're met by a fleet of elven ships. They're like, "Welcome to the greater galaxy, which we have been hiding you from."
Yeah. Oh, have you ever read the short story "The Maid of Meat"?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not an not an uncommon science fiction trope idea. There's lots of instances of stories where, humans suddenly find out for one reason or another that there's a vast galactic group of people that they haven't been privy to up until this point. Like Alan Dean Foster wrote a series where the humans were had been kept isolated for a while until there was one group of aliens in a war with another group of different groups of alien races that are alliances, and they finally resorted to contacting the humans because they were getting their butts kicked.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that humans were the best warrior race available.
Yeah, the Humans Are Space Orc. I love those stories.
Space orcs.
Yeah, humanity. Yeah.
If we do end up going on with this magic thing, maybe the reason why Earth was quarantined was because it was a Category 10 death world.
Maybe.
So interesting. We got the Last Voyage of the Demeter, and Bardic Bird got Meg 2 for the commercial.
That's weird.
So y'all don't get the same commercial. You get tailored commercials or something? I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't see a commercial, so.
Well, you're also not looking at the window because you want your computer to operate properly.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh yeah, at the game on Sunday, one of my friends, the bottom of his laptop was swelling.
Oh, that's
not good.
That's the battery.
That's a lipo battery failure in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the battery wasn't working at all. He was plugging into the wall to operate it, but one of our other players was like, "Nope, this is bad." Unscrewed the bottom as much as they could. Was able to salvage the hard drive, but it's like no. Well, the rest is toast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know non-organic things could swell.
Yeah.
Well, no, a lipo battery will definitely swell before it fails. And if it fails, it's going to incinerate your computer and probably your house if you don't have it contained.
Yeah. So, the laptop is shut down and not connected to anything, and we're going to be taking it to e-recycling in the near future.
So what happens in lithium-ion batteries is there's two anodes, and as you continuously charge and discharge, it builds up material from one anode to the other. And when those two materials touch, they technically short out. However, in some of those batteries, that will just keep growing together, pushing the anodes out and farther apart, and they start to swell.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so basically by running it off of the plug, just off of the wall like that, even though technically the battery wasn't working, it was still being charged and building crystals. So, yeah.
The new batteries look interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing those come out to play.
There's a bunch
the solid state ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of new battery technology I've been looking into. Solid state's one of them, yeah.
Yeah, I actually posted a link to the new engines, electric engines that they want to put into electric cars. Mercedes is working on this, and it's about the size of a frying pan.
Mm-hmm.
And weighs about as much as 2 frying pans put together.
Yeah, the only issue that's going to cause is the cars are going to be too light. They're going to have to weigh them down with something.
Yeah.
Because if you get a car that's too light up to speed, it'll flip over.
Well, yeah, you're going to have to basically adjust the car design to have a more downforce.
Mm-hmm.
Or lower center of gravity.
Yeah. Well, kind of like what they do with the Formula One cars. They get sucked onto the road.
Yeah, because they're wedge shaped, the airflow continuously pushes them down.
Yeah. But if anything goes wrong, they fly. Yeah, so funny thing about the First Contact. Hey, I get to plug my stuff for once. What happened was in June, Drive-Thru RPG was going to be having a contest. Well, not really a contest, basically a promotion where you make a role-playing game with 20 pages or less. And I was like, oh, okay. Came up with the game engine within the first 15 minutes, started working on the game setting, then realized that they actually had a fixed setting, science fiction. So I was like, well, I'll put the setting I was working on aside and I will do this. I might actually go back to the original setting concept at some point. The idea was for the 3 scales, you play the gods, the demigods, and the heroes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you'd have the gods actually, dictating what's going to be going on. The demigods get to go do heroic things, and then you have the heroes as the scale down, kind of struggling to meet these demands and such like that. So I want to see. I want to go back to that at some point and give it some more thought.
Mhm.
But I do like First Contact. I think that came out fairly well, and we got a lot of praise on the cover and the art.
Mm.
And one of my friends really liked the logo. So hopefully at the end of this month, actually it'll probably be into August, we'll have it on print on demand, which will be nice. So what else you wanted to do with tessellation? You were talking about going back to D12s.
Well, I definitely want to go back to D12s. There were some things that we uncovered in the first play test that my previous groups didn't, which was stacking buffs and how to resolve each one individually when they all basically did damage and added to the damage pool. So,
among other things.
Among other things, yeah, there were a few other things that took place. I was hoping to go back and look at the recordings, only to find out that the recording didn't record. I've just got a big black box. So,
that's no fun.
Yeah.
Black Box is what actually named the expansion for First Contact. First Contact, the Black Box.
Nice.
Yeah. Are you going to do the equivalent of advantage disadvantage? 3d12 take the 2 best, 3d12 take the 2 worst, that kind of thing?
I don't think so. I didn't really have much in the line of advantage planned for tessellation. More of luck and not having it. I had one character, I think it was Zed's character, that was just building luck like it was nobody's business. And so I'm thinking of adding a share system where you can share it with a group pool, where the group can pull from the luck.
King Karma.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. How would you do a raw luck based character in tessellation?
Well, what I did is I just did things that did a lot of stuff. So I had all these stacking buffs, and every time I had a turn, I would be doing like 5 things that required rolls because we weren't stacking all of them together. So I would just keep making more and more and more and more rolls and accumulating more and more luck.
Meanwhile, I had built my character assuming that you could only do one action in a given turn. And so I was very much not anywhere able to compete with
the action
with
economy.
Rain's level of capability, which setting wise makes sense because Rain's an immortal Chinese assassin who's been around for millennia, and my character is a university student. But it did definitely make me think, okay, if this is going to have official written down rules, there needs to be a way to make sure that everybody's balanced, because between myself and Rain, there is very much no balance.
Right. Which is one of the things I got to work on.
Okay, so that kind of conflicts with my view of game balance. I don't believe in mechanical game balance. As soon as the players are able to make decisions on their character creation and execution, balance more or less gets thrown out the window. It's up the game master's control of the spotlight, and the scenario is where the balance comes in. So yeah, like Zed's character is more capable, let's say, than Elena's. Is that accurate to the setting? And that would become the big question. To use it like a parallel example, if you've ever played the fantasy game Exalted, if one player is playing a solar exalt, which are basically gods walking on Earth, and somebody's playing a terrestrial, which is kind of effectively an elemental martial artist hero, the scales are completely different. But as far as the setting is concerned, it's like, yeah, this happens.
So you really have to be on board with communicating with your players about what their expectations are and what your expectations are.
Exactly.
In order to kind of say, well, is this something that the players are going to be okay with, having a wide disparity in power levels between different characters?
Yeah.
Or are people going to want something that's more finely tuned and closer in order to say, is this going to be an acceptable gameplay experience for everybody?
And I think the more important thing for me, balance wise, was the fact that I didn't know that it was acceptable to have all of these different things stacked up, or else I would have built my character differently.
Player knowledge is important.
Coming up with a completely new game system, the rules are not written down. There's no codification. There's no a common understanding of what the action economy is, what the resource economy is. So if you don't have any of this stuff written down, much less ironed out as far as balance goes, you can't expect things to be balanced.
Yeah. I mean, again, it made sense in this context, so it wasn't like I was upset about it or anything. I was just like, this is a thing that we need to make note of.
Players being one of the things I put down on a first Facebook D&D group. We were discussing what I learned from playing D&D all through the decades and decades and decades. And one of the things I had put down is that the players should always have an eye towards helping the other players move forward. The spotlight should be shifting around between all the players more or less evenly. Everyone has to feel like they're contributing. If they don't feel that, then it's not fun. So me being a blatant power gamer, my goal is still to have the other players have fun. So I'll usually kind of step back a bit and let them do the stuff. And then if I get to do something, then I get to do it, and it'll tend to be overpowered, but at least they got the ball rolling and they got to be involved first.
Yeah, and you can see that. Well, I mean, if you'd been there when we were playing Trinity, that's kind of what my Pink Ranger does. She, when she gets to act, she kills everything.
Yes.
But she doesn't often act because she wants everybody else to get a chance to do something first.
Yeah. This discussion actually happened on the Renegade Studio group. We were talking about this. It's like, is it just me or is the Pink Ranger overpowered? Everyone's like, oh, yes. Once the Pink Ranger gets the ball rolling, there's no stopping them. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. At least it's not just me.
Well, I mean, like, even when we were back doing... even back when we were doing the I can't remember the name of the setting, the one where he was playing as Tatiana.
That's the it's not fifth age, something like some
13th age.
13th age was
13th age.
Yeah, I don't remember for sure if that was the right one. Was 13th age the one where you were a player or the one where you were GMing?
I was a player.
Fantasy Age. It was Fantasy Age.
Oh, Fantasy Age. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Wrong age. Yeah. Oh, speaking of overpowered, so a friend of mine is running Pathfinder. We've made it to 14th level. My sister's rogue has a plus 49 bonus to stealth.
How?
A lot of stacking bonuses. We'll go with that. I can show you the build later if you're interested. But yeah, plus 49 stealth. So we're in a hell labyrinth. There's a demon who's blocking the path to the treasure that we're trying to get to. So we're having a nice little conversation with the demon, trying to find out what's going on. No combat or anything like this. And we're like, what's past that? What's in that hallway behind you that you're blocking? Oh, there's nothing important. So her rogue slips in past him because he's not going to succeed in spotting her, goes in, spots the treasure, spots the mimic, and basically takes one of the chests of treasure because it's trapped, stuffs it in a bag of holding, walks out, and because she has hide in plain sight, nobody sees her, and then she just dumps the bag out. So it's just like out of nowhere, boom, chest. And suddenly there's this rogue suddenly visible. And the demon's like, oh, we can't have that now. Combat starts. At the end of it, she goes back in, walks out with one of the chests, the next chest, and then the loose treasure starts disappearing, and the mimic sees nothing. And the mimic's just kind of looking around. It's like, what the hell? Looks off to one side, turns back, and there's less treasure there. Turns back, and there's less treasure over there, and just back and forth. She's done entire dungeon crawls solo as a scout because nothing sees her. And she'll come back, yeah, so there's this here, and there's this here, and there's this here, and there's this trap over here, and I opened up this thing over here, and blah, 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 blah. And our general conversation is we presume she's there because even when we're traveling from point A to point B, she's stealthed. I'm playing a gunslinger that turns into a pixie gunslinger. That's my thing. And my little brother is playing a halfling brawler, so he runs up to things and he punches them really hard. And that's his entire shtick. It's like, it's your action. I run up and I punch it. And Samantha's character keeps on stealing his chocolates and offering it to other people. Hey, would you like some chocolate? It's like, that's mine, it's theirs now. I do enjoy Pathfinder more than 5th edition. You could do a lot more with your characters.
Yeah. Lots of rules.
Yeah, lots of rules, definitely. But I like the flexibility. Yeah.
Well, but I was to say, Hero System's got lots of rules and lots of flexibility, so you probably like that.
I'm actually not a fan of the Hero System because, well...
Oh, you don't like point buy?
No, I don't mind point buy. I mean, okay. I've done Shadowrun with point buy and all that kind of stuff. That's all fine. I don't mind point buy in the slightest. The problem I have with the Hero System is, what's the difference between a ranged killing attack and a close killing attack?
One, you can add your strength bonus to it, and the other, you can fire it at range.
Yeah. But the mechanics, other than that, are pretty much identical. It is a however many D6 RKA, and then it's like, well, it can be a lightning attack, or it can be a fire attack, or it can be a bow, or it can be that, and they all fall into the same mechanics.
Well, the same bracket. From whatever advantages and limitations you apply to them, yes.
Yeah. When I go into a system, what I want is like, if I have this ability, I want it to stand out as unique versus any other ability of the same category, so to speak. It's like Lightning Bolt operates differently than Fireball, and they have a completely different feel, and they have a completely different look, and, things like that. Or it's like, well, I have this advantage. It's not going to follow the same mechanics as this other advantage. And that's the kind of thing. It's like, I like having that difference, which is why I very much enjoy Pathfinder, because you can build some very interesting concepts through that. The first thing I ever did with Hero System, actually, was I made Archangel from the X-Men. Yeah, with the metallic wings and everything. I was like, okay, I did all the math and everything. I got it figured out. Then it's like, okay, well, let's try Wolverine. I did all the math and got everything figured out. And it's like, it's not satisfying. But if you look at, say, Mutants and Masterminds, which is point buy, I had a lot of fun with Mutants and Masterminds. I made a archer who never misses a shot. And the way you do that is you do a area effect attack, and the opponent makes a reflex save as opposed to you making an attack roll, and they can reflex for half. And there you go. It's like, yes, I shoot you with my bow. I hit. It just becomes, how well did I hit? And if you're playing 2nd edition Mutants and Masterminds, there's a modifier which is no save. So the person's making the saving throw just to see how hard they got hit, as opposed to save for half or save to negate.
I'm back.
Hello, welcome back.
Thanks.
Yeah. I made a character called Noir, which was inspired by Spider-Man Noir, in that he dresses up as a private detective. That's ability is he can blend in with anything, and everybody just assumes he's supposed to be there. He's a nobody. When he goes into costume, he's got the mask and all this other stuff. He's got Batman levels of detective ability and Spider-Man's mobility ability. But instead of doing web shooters, he shoots out barbed wire.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I gave him something called the Noir field, where everything goes into black and white and grainy, and he moves at normal speed, but everybody else is kind of stutters and seems to be slowing down a bit because they're going at film speed and he's going at real speed. So I made it all really creepy.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's a fun character. So, what else are you planning on doing with Tessellation? Any other ideas for modifiers or modifications?
Well, I just had a kind of an idea, like literally 2 seconds ago, but I haven't even put full thought into it because we're doing this. But it was something about dice economy, where instead of using just 2d12s or 2d20s, a person had a pool of a d12, a d10, a d8, and a d6 to take their actions with, and they would roll which one. The higher the die they rolled, the bigger the stake was in what they did.
Interesting. I was thinking about when you were talking about the 2d12 and I was mentioning the modifiers like advantage, disadvantage. A part of me was going, what if instead of add or disadvantage, you had modifiers using smaller sized dice?
Well, the thing is with the system, because of the way it works, if you use smaller dice, you have greater chances of success.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
they had that for a second edition. Immortal did that, where as your skills got better, the dice pool got smaller, and a 1 was always a critical.
Yeah, with this, it's you take a stat and a skill, you add the numbers together, get your total, and then you roll 2d12, and each die that rolls under the number, the total, is a success. If you rolled under in this case, your special stat, if you rolled under that, you also got an additional success. And that's how luck was built, is you get additional successes. Or if you rolled damage and you rolled the highest number on the die, that was not a damage, that was either a luck or 1 point of damage. You got to choose.
You know how I was asking about luck-based characters, right? I was thinking if you had a luck power, which is at the start of the round, you make a roll against it, and you try to get successes, which develops your luck pool for whatever you're going to do going ahead. It's not an action; it's just basically a passive generator.
Yeah, trying to generate successes. Yeah, there are skills throughout in roleplay that would allow you to just roll with almost no difficulty. In which case, every success was basically a luck. It's like, try to charm this person. The difficulty is very low because she thinks you're a hero. So you roll and you charm that person, and they're like, "Can I have your autograph?" And you get some luck from it. Rain's character, because of the way he described himself as being dressed, I was like, okay, cool. Well, there's a chick here cosplaying as Asuna from Sword Art Online, not a sponsor. And
hashtag not a sponsor. Yes.
And she thinks you're dressed like Kirito, so she wants a picture of you. And I gave him a choice of letting her and not, and rolling some dice, and he rolled some dice and got some luck.
Yeah. Do you know the old Marvel phase rip system?
Yeah.
I played it but yeah.
Yeah. So I had a character with an ability called Phenomenal Luck, and what you would do is you would make a check off that power to have a lucky break or have something go into your favor. It's just that every time you used it, the power rank degraded by 1. So it became harder and harder and harder. And if you got doubles, that was a botch.
Ouch.
Yeah. So that worked fairly well. and it just fluctuate all over the place. So it's like if you used it too much, it's like, yeah, I'm going to have to kick back and just rely on my actual capabilities for a while because that thing needs to recharge.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my biggest issues right now with Tessellation is, like I said, I want to go back to running it as 2D12, not 2D20. That's going to reduce the max stats and the max skills. And I'm just having trouble deciding how I want to do that. Do I want to break
I
it
could
up
talk with you about that later.
like 3 and 5, 4 and 4, 4 and 5? I know I don't want to get it so high as like so that adding the two numbers together will get you to 10, because then you only have basically 11 and 12 to be failure. So yeah, I'm not sure. Once I've kind of got that nailed down and figured that out, then
I mean, if you want the same ratios you have now, the max would be 4 and 4.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking. And I'd probably eliminate the special stat for just the 3 primary stats and the 7 skills.
Well, that sounds interesting. I kind of see I want to see where you go with this.
Well, it's just if I have time to work on it. Saturdays, like I said, Saturdays and Sundays, I'm usually dead. Mondays, I'm just barely recovered. Tuesdays,
you're undead.
Yeah, I'm undead. And then Tuesdays, I've got a plan for Wednesday, and then Wednesday night we have D&D at a local brewery.
Yeah, how is that going?
That's going really well. My partner Bonnie, she's been running the Stranger Things box set. That's been a big hit with the players. They've been there every week. They haven't missed. And then Saturday, we got a lot of inquiries about it, so I'm likely going to be running my homebrew starting this Wednesday. It's called The End, where everybody is a dead hero, and they basically awaken in the Tavern of the Inn, or the End, at the end of the universe. And they're given a chance to start over, but they have to now travel the different realms, in order to solve problems for other people. So that should be fun.
So a friend of mine, his idea was that you're veteran heroes, you wind up getting cursed at the bottom of a dungeon, and you have to work your way back up to the surface. But the thing is, as you go along, you're losing levels. So you start the characters off at 20th level, and then you go to 19th, 18th, 17th as you work your way down.
Oh, that sounds fun, but
it's a one shot. It sounds very much like a one shot.
Yeah,
I had an idea kind of related to that, in that you start off in a world that is experiencing a cataclysm. The nature of magic is changing. So what happens is all these high, powerful beings of whatever kind of magic was there before, like elementalism, or various races have different kinds of magic. Those kinds of magic are magic of light and, wholesomeness. And all of that stuff is getting the hell out of Dodge, because circumstances are changing. The wheel is turning. It's time for them to go somewhere else because something else is coming here. So your characters start off and you're in this world, and you may or may not have some magic. You're not like super powerful heroes or anything. You're kind of starting characters, but for whatever reason, you're tied here. You can't leave. You've got an old sick mother you got to take care of. Whatever it is you choose, for the reason you can't leave, but you stay. And you have to live through the experience of the world's wheel is turning, and all the magic you knew is going away. Whatever skill you have in that magic, you start off with that skill. That level of magic goes down over time, but you have the opportunity to accrue new magic, but you don't have any clue at the start what it is or how it works. So you have to figure it out as you go. So you start off with X number of levels in one class, and you lose those over time, but you gain new levels in a different class as you do.
Have you ever heard of Broken Rooms?
No.
I I have it as the bleakest, most depressing RPG I have ever seen. Before that, Promethean had the record, but no. Basically, an event happens where the Earth is supposed to have been destroyed, but doesn't. Instead, 13 versions of the Earth break off, and you have the ability to slip between these different Earths. And each of the other Earths is going through a cataclysm, but it is still your Earth. So you could run into alternate versions of yourself, and only you and your alternate versions are able to slip between worlds. Not everybody has this ability. So it's like, okay, so my Earth is fine. Nothing bad happened. I go to here. The sun is slowly going supernova, and the Earth is starting to bake. And there's my partner, and I can't rescue them from this fate. Oh, this other Earth is going into an ice age, and people are starting to starve and turning into cannibalism and stuff like this. And there's my kids, and I can't rescue them from this fate. And you have your alter egos who are, have been going through this, and they find your Earth where nothing bad has happened. So how do they feel about this? And yeah, there's like 12 different cataclysms that you can go through. And if you go through these, you can pick up some special stuff from each of these things, which makes you a little off from normal. And I was like, yeah, so the entire campaign is the Earth has about 13 days to live, or 13 weeks or something like this. And you're slipping from one to the other and going back and forth. And how does your character feel about this? How does your alter egos feel about this? When you have all these things you care about, and in this world, there's nothing you can do. And I was like, oh, that is such a bleak setting.
That's like my real life.
Oh, you slip from Earth to Earth?
I do. You can ask Bardic Bird in the chat. I slip from Earth to Earth all the time. I've witnessed my own death several times.
No, I just play with weather. That's my thing. We had a tornado touchdown a couple of days ago.
Yep.
I love weather. I love rain. I love hail. I love wind. I love it when it's all together. So leaving the Walmart, hashtag not a sponsor, I'm starting to hear these little pack on the pavement, but I don't see anything. I get to the crosswalk and I see hailstones that are about, nickel to quarter size. I've never seen hail that big before. So I was happy, even though I got hit twice. By the time I got to the grocery store, it started coming down and I was enjoying this. When I got to the shelter in front of the grocery store, that's when the rain hit, and it was just a deluge, and we had tornado warnings and all this other stuff. I was like, oh, this is exciting. And I'm watching all these people run out of the hail and everything like this. Then the rain basically started doing this. And I was like, oh, this is cool, but I'm getting soaked. So I start to go into the grocery store. The wind was so hard and the rain was so hard, it was forcing the sliding doors to open because it was picking up movement. So get into the grocery store just as they were closing to lock the doors shut. And once I got inside, you could just see like the water washing over the shelter and you could barely see anything past it. I was just like, this is exciting. I love this. I'm glad it waited until I got inside before it did this though. Got inside
on Friday?
Yeah. Got inside, met Kat. She was paying for her groceries. We get out, and just before we get out, the rain has stopped. The sun is out. Get into the car, go home. The rain starts up again. And that's normal for me. This is
that's a squall line, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, at one point, I had to go see Kat. I lived on Prince of Wales, and she lived in Canada. So get to the bus shelter, and it's raining. The bus shows up, it stops raining. I get on the bus, it starts raining. I get off the bus, it stops raining. I get into the shopping mall, it starts raining. Get out of the shopping mall, it stops raining. Get to her place, it starts raining again. And I was like, okay. That was the first time I was like, okay, this is a bit odd.
Well, like, I've got
Somebody favors you.
I've got a thing with weather too. It's mainly that hurricanes won't come anywhere near me, or super severe weather won't come anywhere near me. So, like, I lived in Florida for a long time, and, like, all the hurricanes seemed to bend around where I was staying.
Oh yeah.
And then in 2004, I moved to Ohio. 2004, my area of Florida got 4 hurricanes in a row, back to back. And
You got
then,
there. Got it.
so then I spend 7 years in Ohio, and there's no major blizzards. And we leave Ohio to come back to Florida in March. And we left, and they had one of the worst blizzards they had in a decade in March. And I'm
Nice.
like, I think that's wearing off, though, as I get older, because we had Hurricane Ian and then Irma kind of come through here, while I was here. But, I mean, it still wasn't all that bad.
You're forgetting to do something.
Oh?
Like for me, I have a melody that I picked up someplace that I use, which is what I use to basically call rain. And on Friday morning, not knowing there was a storm coming, I was like, what if the entire planet got a rainstorm to get rid of the drought? Like, how big of a rainstorm would that be? And then, boom, tornado. I was like, maybe I should be careful what I wish for.
Yeah, well, actually, myself and Michael were out for his birthday dinner on Friday, and we managed to get to our restaurant just before the really harsh rains came down.
Nice. Yeah. A couple of years back, we were driving down to Cape Cod, and Ottawa got hit by one of the worst rain/windstorms that on record. Just after we got into the American border, I was not happy because I had been waiting decades for that kind of storm. So coming back with like, the power lines are down, and these towers are down, and these trees are down, and this is down, and this, and people keep on saying, it's like, how can you be happy about this? And I'm like, I'm not happy about the devastation. I feel really bad when people get hurt, vehicles get destroyed, and houses get destroyed, and that kind of stuff. I don't like the damage. I appreciate the raw power of nature. That is what I enjoy. I'm very much a storm crow. So it's like I have the the dual mentality of, it's like, I feel bad for you guys. I still enjoyed this, and those don't have to be connected.
I actually like storms too.
Yeah, the bigger, the better, the better.
So there's apparently a game on Steam.
Unless you're out in fist-sized hailstones coming down on your face.
Well, yeah,
I've been out in that kind of weather too. So
I haven't.
From what I understand, there's a new Steam game out called Storm Chasers, where it's a simulator game where you're a storm chaser. You got to chase the storms.
Funny enough, I've been watching those on YouTube recently. They've been thrown into my feed. I'm like, oh yeah, I live for this.
Oh yeah.
They had MythBusters actually helped some storm chasers make basically a car that seals itself down onto the pavement so that tornado can't pick it up.
Right.
And I watched one of the videos where they did that. They drove up to the place where the tornado was coming. They planted themselves, and the tornado drove right over them. So they went right through the middle. And then tornado went up the other side, and they unsealed themselves. And okay, we suffered a little damage to the antenna. We suffered a little damage here, and we got a crack in the window shield, but we're fine. Apparently, when a tornado hits you like that, your ears pop.
Yeah. Well, there's a huge pressure differential between the center of the tornado and the outside.
Yeah.
So it's causing the funnel.
Yeah, but
they
got some amazing. Yeah, they got some amazing readings from that, which is the entire reason they did it, because they wanted the reading. What is it like inside the tornado? And they very much lucked out.
But yeah, like with what you were talking about with the pressure differentials, me and Michael weren't near the tornado. But like even from inside the restaurant, I could feel the pressure difference. The entire first half or so of the meal, my ears were just popping over and over.
Yeah. The constant change as the storm moved.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the tornado actually was very close to the Loblaws on Baseline in Maryvale, because that wind and rain, I have never seen anything that hard go before.
Yeah, we were, our restaurant was just a couple minutes walk from Baseline Station on the 88.
Okay, yeah. So, tangentially, sort of, there is an Indian restaurant in Canada It is amazing. Beautiful food, one-man show, and if you call him ahead of time to make a reservation, you can actually make specific requests for stuff, and he will cook you what you ask for, and everything is fresh. It's beautiful. I'm gonna have to go there again sometime. He said he'd teach me how to make curry.
Oh, nice.
I've always wanted to make my own type of curry, so it'd be kit curry.
Every time I go down to Subway, the lady at Subway, I tell her what I'm going to put on my sandwich after I take it home. She's like, "You really should have a YouTube video." And I'm like, or a channel, and I'm like, maybe one day.
Yeah,
I make some really weird food. I've shown you guys pictures of some of the food I've made.
Yep.
Elena would not want me to partake of your weird food because she doesn't like weird food.
So yeah, I am considered a Franken-chef. I combine things that usually don't go together. For example, one of them is we've now dubbed it taco nuts, and it's donuts with taco and chili meat, and tater tots mixed into it, added to the top of that with some cheese melted on it. Oh, so good.
Interesting. I got declared recently a super taster because whenever I eat something, my mind kind of catalogs the flavor. So if somebody says, well, does this and this and this go together? I can kind of go click, click, click. Well, if you did this and this and this, it'd work, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's more than just flavor, though. It's also texture.
Yes.
So I use a special donut that I get from a place here down the street called Donuts to Go. It's called a cronut. It's made with croissant dough.
Yes.
And
now everything makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's got that, that biscuity, croissant layers going on. A little bit tough on the outside because it's obviously it's fried like a normal donut is. And then it's extra sharp cheddar actually on the donut, the meat and chili concoction on top of that, and then sprinkling some Fiesta cheese on top of that. And
my brain says that's very tasty.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Like I've everybody who's
I just earned 10 croissants. Speaking of croissants,
I've had everybody who's like looked at it and been like, "Oh man, that looks awful," and then they've tasted it. They're like, "I was wrong. This is good."
Well, that's how I've seen some people react to poutine. They're like, "Oh, that looks like a god awful mess, and it's so tasty. I want more." The Irish Try Guys on YouTube recently they did a hot sauces on breakfast cereals. And like at the beginning of this, they're like, no, this is horrible. Why would you even do this? And as they go through, a few of them are like, actually, this is really good. This works out really well. And, they're like finishing off their bowls and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, it really depends on the hot sauce. I mean, it's a flavor. Are you getting sweet? Are you getting savory? I mean, it's going with the cereal and milk. And, you use milk to offset heat. So, of course, it could work. It's not something I would have ever thought of, but I can see it working.
It has to do with the combination between the heat and the sweet, and when you get the two flavor combinations together in the right way, it's almost like barbecue sauce.
Well, it's like chili peppers and chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. Both which good on their own, and then when you mix them together, they're fantastic.
Yep. The other thing, of course, is it depends on the hot sauce. Is the hot sauce being made to add flavor, or is it a hot sauce that is made just to burn your taste buds so that they can basically brag?
Yeah.
Because I've seen it's like, here's a hot sauce and it's got a capacity number of like 10 million. And they're like, oh my God, this is going to hurt us. And then they taste this like, oh, this is actually really good. There's no burn. And I'm like, that's exactly it. It was made for flavor. Sure, it's using scorpion peppers and death reaper peppers and all this other stuff, but they didn't make it to kill you. They made it to give a unique flavor to whatever it is you're having and hiding the senses a bit.
We've got a place down here called Tijuana Flats that just has, it's got literally a hot sauce bar. And you can just taste all these different hot sauces. The one that I end up liking is it's a very sweet and sour hot sauce. It's fantastic with anything taco.
Yeah. And then it's like, this is far outside of her world of experience.
Well, she's not very fond of anything.
I'm just waiting for the opportunity to have something that I can actually pipe in on.
Okay. Have you heard of a Chicha? I think is what it's called. Chicha.
Chicha. No, I don't recognize that.
Okay. Well, the night market here was selling it. And the first time I experienced it was in California at the LeBreton Flat. Not the LeBreton Flats, the La Brea Tar Pits. LeBreton Flats is local. Anyway, it is ice with a non-dairy kind of milk and a coconut whipped cream, and with like strawberry or blueberry, like a bit of a spritz that's put inside like a syrup, and then a little bit on top with strawberries, blueberries,
You
whatever it is
lost
you
her
want.
quite some time ago, dude.
Oh yeah.
Coconuts, berries,
Oh.
both things she won't eat.
Well,
Wow.
coconut flavors, berry flavors, those are okay. I just can't stand the texture.
Ah. Interesting. So you don't like fruit texture?
Most fruits, yeah. I can eat apples, I can eat
Mhm.
bananas, I can eat peaches.
They had a peach flavored one. If they had
Okay.
bananas or the idea is basically it's a specific kind of milk mixed with ice, mixed with different fruit flavors, and it's nice. It's a nice chilled drink. It has an unusual flavor, but it's tasty. And Kat got to have her first one yesterday. Yeah, it's from Venezuela.
Interesting.
It sounds like
Which was
go ahead.
Which was, by the way, the reason I tried it, because it was like, I've never had Venezuelan food. I want to try this because it's a new experience for me, and it's why I try different foods, is just for the experience. It's like, I've never had Ethiopian food. Oh, I love Ethiopian food. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say it sounds like you like the fruits that have like a grainy texture to them, rather than the ones that pop in your mouth.
Oh yeah, no, if it pops, I can't take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what most berries are like. The coconut, though, is a little confusing because coconut has that fibery taste to it, or that fibery texture to it, like apples.
Yeah, she doesn't really
don't
like fiber textures.
Huh.
I don't like the way that it sticks inside my mouth.
The coconut whipped cream wouldn't do that to you. So it'd be more, did you like the flavor more than anything than the texture? Because the texture is whipped cream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I had my first butterbeer.
Butterbeer is good.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
there are different recipes for it, and some recipes are much better than others.
I got the Disney one, and I got to try the chill, the normal, cold, and the hot. I got to try all three.
Do you mean the Universal one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's not Disney.
Yeah, right, derp. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah.
I've had the Universal Studios butterbeer as well, and it's very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was tasty.
I haven't been able to have that one yet, but I make my own butterbeer. Cream soda and butterscotch schnapps.
So do them. Zed's wife makes butterbeer. Very good, in fact.
It's better if you can like make a whipped foam, like if you've got a
immersion blender.
No, not that. The thing that you use to make espresso drinks with.
Oh, okay.
You use one of those to make a hot whipped foam with the butterscotch and some heavy whipping cream, and use that instead of just cold soda and the butterscotch schnapps. It's actually really good.
Oh, Aborigine restaurant is opening up in Ottawa.
That's cool.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that out. I've never had native cuisine.
Me too. That sounds really
my wife
interesting.
Kat had it when she worked at a bookstore, and they were actually, I think, making they were selling a recipe book on native cuisine. So they had a whole bunch of samples, and I was like, oh, I'm sad I missed that.
Oh, now you get to have some.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I have to find out where it is. So it's over the hour, so we should probably wrap up here.
We could, or we could just hang out for another hour.
I have, unfortunately, work-related stuff I have to do, and I have a deadline.
Yeah, so do I, but I don't care.
Yeah, I do, because this is taxes.
Oh, yeah. I actually did the tax thing last week.
Yeah, well, the company's accountant came to see me today, and we had stuff to do, so I have homework. But you guys can keep on talking if you want to, but I have to pop out. So
No, that's
take
okay.
care, everyone.
Let's go ahead and call it for the night.
Yeah.
All right then. So ciao ciao. Take care, everyone.
See you guys.
See you guys next week.
Everyone.
See you next week.
Yep.
Bye.